Super Smash Bros. Ultimate doesn't have the best Final Fantasy representation. There's 16 different main Final Fantasy games, but Final Fantasy VII is the only one that gets represented in Smash. There's a lot of different ways you could go about having a different Final Fantasy representative to represent the games other than 7, and I think an idea that is slept on a lot of the time is for the Onion Knight to be that representative. The Onion Knight first appeared in Final Fantasy III, which was also the first game in the series to include an in-depth job system. The game has many jobs which allow you to choose how your characters will play, with the Onion Knight job being the beginner job you always start out with. Because of the fact that the Onion Knight can become any job, it can use the techniques of every job, which could be a very interesting Smash character. I'm going to go into further detail on each part of the character and how I would have it be portrayed in Smash. For the appearance of the Onion Knight, I'd like to use the chibi art style that the sprites in the early Final Fantasy games used. Art for those games has already shown how this art style could be translated into a less pixelated look. I'd also like for half of the Onion Knight's alts to be a different character, similar to what Olimar has with Alph. That character would be Luneth. Luneth was a character created for the DS remake of Final Fantasy III in order to give the game an actual protagonist. In-game, they are functionally the same as the characters in the original, so this just seems like a really good alt character. Most of the Onion Knight's moveset would just be standard sword fighter stuff, but for the specials, things would get crazy, with the Onion Knight taking on different jobs. Neutral B would transform the Onion Knight into a black mage to shoot a fireball. This would be pretty much the same as Sora's fireball move. Side B would transform the Onion Knight into a white mage to cast a spell that would briefly transform a nearby opponent into a toad. This status would make you substantially weaker and unable to use any moves aside from neutral A, but it would only last for a few seconds. It would also have an MP mechanic like the hero's spells, so it can't be abused. Up B would transform the Onion Knight into a Dragoon to use the ability Jump, doubling as both a recovery tool and an attack with a spear. This would be pretty unique because Smash doesn't have much in the way of spears. Finally, for down B, the Onion Knight would get on top of a Chocobo. While on the Chocobo, you'd be a lot faster, however, if the Chocobo is hit by an attack, it will run away. The final Smash will bring in every Final Fantasy protagonist to attack together, basically just the Final Fantasy equivalent to Heroes Final Smash. And that was my pitch for Final Fantasy's Onion Knight in Smash Bros. I hope you enjoyed this video, or at least thought some of the ideas were interesting.